Hello and welcome to Faithfully Stampin' with Jennifer Helm. I am Jennifer Helm, the Faithful Stamper. I'm an independent demonstrator with Stampin' Up. Today I have a fun fold card for you. This was one I saw a fellow demonstrator post, and I thought it was really neat. It turns out it's not as complicated as I thought it was to make, and so I decided to share it with my friends and followers for something a little different. This is called a flip top fancy fold. And so the reason it's called that is because the top of the card flips up, and that makes it a fancy fold because you also have the regular kind of style of card base, but you have this fun little added piece to it. So I'm going to go ahead and share with you how to make this card. The stamp set that I am using today is one of our online exclusives. It is called our Translucent Florals stamp set, and it coordinates beautifully with this designer series paper. It is called the Delightful Floral 12x12 DSP. And it was funny, I missed it in the online exclusives at first, and then fellow demonstrators were sharing, and I said, wait a minute, where did they get that cute paper? And so I had to go look, and I found it was an online exclusive. So we do have a small selection of items that are not available in the catalog. They're available on the website, online exclusives. You get the idea. So you can check them out online here. And if you do want to see a paper copy of the catalog, if you don't have a demonstrator that you're working with, please feel free to get in touch with me. I'm no pressure, but I'd happily pop one in the mail for you. I myself like to drool over a paper copy of the catalog, so I can just ogle all the fun stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our fancy fold card. What you will need to start is a piece of cardstock that is 8.5 by 11. If you've been here on the page before, my camera angle might look a little bit different because I raised my camera up to get a bigger surface here so you can see this whole sheet of cardstock. Hopefully I can keep it nice and centered for you. So this is 8.5 by 11, and this is Pretty Peacock that I'm working with. So you just need a paper trimmer scorer. It can be either or, but you're going to need both parts of it. So our Stampin' Up! Trimmer is actually quite nice for projects like this. So I'm going to bring that on over. And so we're going to take our cardstock base. I'm going to start with the 8.5 inch side up at the top. And the first thing I'm going to do is line it up at 4 1/4 and score it. And then I'm going to rotate it so that 11 inch side is up at the top. And I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. So basically in half both directions. And then I'm going to pull it out and return it to the portrait orientation. And I'm going to flip it over. And the reason I'm going to do that is because when you score, you have the mountains and the valleys. I hope that makes sense to you. One side is a little depressed, that's the valley. And then the other side is a little bit raised. I don't know how well, I think you can maybe see here. There's just a slight raise where I have that score line. That's the mountain side. And so when I fold it, I want that to be the inside of my card. So I want the raised or mountain side up and the valleys down. Okay. Now, before I start cutting or anything here, I'm going to show you this template. I'm going to try to get this nice and centered on the camera for you for a moment. Feel free to take a screenshot of this. This will help you get a good visual of what we're going to do here and hopefully save you the exasperation of what I did the first time I made this card. And I had that beautiful piece of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, which I promptly cut the wrong panel off of. And so now I have a lovely piece of scrap to use on other projects. So I promptly went ahead, made myself a template so I could have this sitting on my desk, and this just really helped me to kind of focus in and see where I needed to cut paper off and where I needed to leave it on. So feel free to take a screenshot of this, and if you want to see a better picture of it, hop on over to the Faithful Stamper and find me on Facebook. There will be a post with pictures of the card that I'm making tonight and the other samples I'm going to show you at the end of this video. And I'm going to post a picture of the template there as well in case you'd like to save it. You are welcome to. All right, so I've got my mountain sides for the score lines facing up. I've got my 8.5 inch side at the top. I'm going to put my cardstock back in and move it over to the 4 3/4 mark. Before I do anything else, I'm going to lift my cutting arm. I've had my scoring blade, which is, my cutting blade. My scoring blade is up here at the top, the lighter colored one. My cutting blade has been down at the bottom, out of my way. I'm going to, without lowering this completely, I'm just gonna hold it up so it's not cutting my paper, but there is a, let's see if you can see here. Can you see now the ruler markings here? I'm gonna line mine up at 5 1/2, which is also where my score line is. And then I'm gonna put it down because I don't wanna cut the whole card off. I just wanna create that small flap right here. So by lining it up, I can very simply push and score up. And then you can see here, I'm gonna go ahead and fold this just to give you the better visual. So I'm starting to make that panel. So I'm gonna put the paper right back in the trimmer, but instead of lining it up on the left side, I'm gonna line it up on the right side at 1/2 inch because I just wanna take 1/2 inch off the edge here to create that small panel. So again, what I'm gonna do before I cut, I'm going to move my cutting blade down to that 5 1/2 mark, then close it. It kind of snaps a little bit. Push up, and now there's my panel. I just need to tweak this a little bit. So what I found easiest to do, I was saving this step for last, is you need to cut 1/2 inch off the bottom of this little panel. I kept doing it last, and it was the fussiest thing in the world trying to line it up straight when I have all this other cardstock going on. So I found a quick way to do it. I'm gonna flip my cardstock back over for 1 second so that little strip is at the top. I'm gonna use that right side again, line it up at 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to cut the 1/2 inch off this flap. It really technically doesn't matter if I go the whole way because I'm gonna cut off the rest of it anyway, but it's just kind of saving myself a little trouble. So your main goal is to cut 1/2 inch here. So if you cut through that top little strip, it's okay, but I just cut down to my cut line. Then I get rid of these 2 little pieces because I don't need them. So now I've got my card base at the bottom. I've created my little flap. So I just need to go back and cut this piece off and this piece off. So I just use my trimmer to do that. I line it up at 5 1/2. And remember, you're only cutting about 1/2 inch off here, so you don't need much. Sometimes I even come back with my scissors, which I'm gonna do this time, to get a nice clean edge here. Sometimes those little cuts are the worst. Just trying to get the little teeny bits. Okay. And then, so there's my fun flap. I need to cut this piece off. And that'll give me a nice panel for scrap. So you can line your score line up on your cutting track here. And remember, you're only cutting down to that panel. Don't cut that beautiful panel that you just worked so hard to create off. If all goes well, it'll pull off right in your hand. And you can save that for more on this card, which we'll get to, or another project. All right, so here's our card base. I'm gonna go ahead and fold it. This is kind of like your regular card base would be. And then you've got the fun fold flap that folds down. Now, one thing I've noticed, it didn't happen on all the cards, but it happened on the last 2 that I made, and it happened a little bit on this one, is if you don't get enough of that score line cut off at the top, you have a little too much cardstock there. So when you go to fold this, it's kind of gonna wanna buckle. Can you see how that doesn't wanna lay flat? So all you need to do is either go back with your trimmer or your scissors. I'm gonna use my trimmer because I'm not good at cutting straight lines like this. So I'm just going to come a little shy of the 5 1/2 mark and then cut a little more. I'm actually gonna come in just a smidge more. There we go. Sometimes, see, it's just that tiny little bit that'll mess you up. And let's see here. Yep. Now I'm good to go. And if you do have any extra kind of here at the top, you can get your scissors out and trim that little corner. But perfect. Okay. So now we decorate. This is the hardest thing you will do, I promise. That and maybe picking out the paper you want to use to decorate it. So let's go ahead and start with the front of the card. So I have picked colors that coordinate with the print, which I'll show you in a minute. Again, this is from that Delightful Floral 12 by 12 DSP paper. I have decided I wanted to use more of a solid color for the large panel on the front. You can design the card however you like. I just kind of mixed and matched patterns and colors until I was happy. So this is 4 inches wide by 5 1/4 inches tall. And you could incidentally use stamped images, like take a piece of cardstock and stamp on it. You could take cardstock and emboss it, whatever you want. And yay, I messed up my glue earlier while I was doing a video, and I wasn't sure it was going to cooperate for us today. So thankfully it did. So this gets glued right on the front. Now we're going to decorate our flap, our little fun top flap. So you will need 2 pieces of Designer Series paper, or DSP, that are 3 inches wide by 4 3/4 inch tall. Now, you have a couple of choices here. I opted to make my prints different. You don't have to. If it's easier and you like your pattern, just cut 2 of the same print, completely up to you. And like I said, again, you could mix and match and throw in some embossed cardstock in there. I'm going to take this first panel that's 3 inches wide and 4 3/4 inches tall and glue it here on the front. I just liked how everything worked together, the colors pop. And I could very well have taken another panel of this same paper and glued it on the inside here. I just decided not to go with that look. Be careful if you're using directional paper, make sure you cut it correctly. All right, so there's the front panel, and then I'm going to use the solid piece on the inside like this. It kind of disappears almost because it's tone one tone, but that's okay. I could glue this way as well. I just opted not to. So my glue's going to go here. But you have options for how you want to decorate the card. Okay, so here we go, little border around it, nice and centered. Now to the inside of the card, we're going to start with DSP and then we'll get to our stamping. So for the inside, I decided to use the panel. It's actually the back side of that beautiful pretty peacock paper, and have a nice bright print on the inside. So this is 4 by 5 1/4. We're going to glue that here. And then we're going to do some stamping for my sentiment panel on the inside, which is also 4 by 5 1/4. Okay, so we'll get to the stamping in 1 second. Let me glue this on first. This is, you don't need any particular adhesive for this, whatever your favorite will do. I am a tape runner girl, and I'm very glad my tape runner has decided to cooperate. There would have been a lot of liquid glue on this card. Okay. All right, so there's all my pretty Designer Series paper. Let's do some stamping and then we'll finish the card up. So I have a piece of scrap paper that I'm going to be working on just so I don't mess up my work surface. So I've got that basic white that's 5 1/4 by 4. My words tonight are all going to be in Pretty Peacock, and then I'm accenting that with Lemon Lime Twist for my major floral piece, and then some Pretty Peacock accents as well. So everything, all the colors are coming right out of this DSP. So let me go ahead and open my ink pads here. I don't need a foam cushion because the red rubber cling stamps I'm using already have that built in. So rule of thumb, light pressure, don't do CPR on your stamps. I know that's our instinct, is to press really hard so you get lots of ink coverage in there. You don't want to do that. You'll end up with ink in places you never knew you could get ink. Trust me, I've done it. And I found in particular with these small words on this stamp set, this was holding a lot of ink. So I'm actually going to tap even gentler than I normally do, just so I don't have a lot of excess ink. Then it takes longer to dry, and just I have more chance for making a mess. Okay, so there we go. That came out well. Yay. Now, there's my words. I could just leave it like this, but I like to add little accents to my card. So I'm going to use this big leaf that's part of the translucent floral set. And this one does, these stamps are interesting. I will admit, when I first saw the stamp set, which we used as part of an online workshop, the demonstrators did, I was not a fan. I thought, ugh, I'm not sure. I'm just more of, I guess, a classic kind of stamp image person, but it's really grown on me, and it goes so beautifully with this designer series paper. So I know this looks a little bit in your face. It actually does dry a little softer, and I'm gonna soften it up with some of those accents I was talking about. So just to kind of soften such a stark look, I have this spriggy looking image. I'm not good with descriptive words sometimes. And I'm just gonna add a little bit of that in our pretty peacock. And by doing this, I just feel it really kind of tones down that in your face lemon lime twist. Hopefully you understand what I'm going for here. To me, it softens it, and just I like that look as opposed to that stark lemon lime twist. Okay. So this is going to be on the inside of the card. Now, what we have next that we're going to stamp, I call it the surprise panel, because we've got our cute little flip top card, right? Our flip top panel. So when you open it, surprise, look, you've got some stamped images there. So you can create whatever you want here. I know sometimes it's hard with stamp sets to coordinate your image and your inside sentiment together. You know, it's all you can do to get a happy birthday and then a nice message on the inside. This stamp set works very well because we have the "You're the Best" that we can add to kind of complement that birthday and then the message on the inside. But you don't have to have words here. You could just use a stamped image. You could use a piece of DSP. You could leave it blank, whatever floats your boat. I'm going to stamp on this panel next. And so this panel is basic white, not whisper white, basic white. It's 3 inches by 4 1/4. So it's going to nestle right underneath that little flap and be our little surprise to our card recipient. So on this, I'm going to go back to that bright lemon lime twist. And let's see, I'm going to try something a little different on this card. So there's that nice bright image. I'm going to put my "You're the Best" here at the top in my pretty peacock. And let's see, I'm going to move this down a little bit. Whew. Oh, good. I thought I was a little crooked there. It's a lot easier to stamp when you're not trying to hit your head on your phone and your phone stand. Okay. So, again, it's a little stark, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to that spriggy image, and I'm going to just kind of put it right there on the stem of the bright image. And then I looked at that and thought, okay, I'm not completely sold. What do I want to do? So we have this cute little separate spriggy thing. To me, it kind of looks like dandelion fluff floating away. So I'm just going to use my pretty peacock and add a couple of these around. I could even stamp off if I wanted and make it a little bit lighter. But to me, that just kind of softens it, ties it all together. And I like this, but it's still a little bit much white space for me. Sometimes I just don't like that much screaming white space on a paper. So I like to add something, I call it a speckle or a sploosh. And we have a couple stamp sets that have that in it. The one I chose to add was the Color and Contour set, and this is the sploosh is photopolymer. Well, the whole set is photopolymer, but that is where it does not have the red rubber cling built into it. So normally I would put a little bit of a cushion underneath here, a piece of foam or a catalog, just to give myself a little bit of give to get a nice imprint. But I'm not worried about it completely because it's a sploosh. It's not a significant image that I'm trying to get. So I'm just gonna work on my table and I'm gonna stamp off to kind of lighten the color. So if you're not familiar with stamping off, basically you're stamping twice. You put your ink in on your stamp, then you're gonna stamp on a piece of scrap paper, and then you're gonna come back and stamp on your actual project. And so it's almost so light here, I don't know if you can see it. But this is just going to very subtly add some filler space to my card, kind of take away some of that white, but not be in your face about it, if you know what I mean. So, okay, I'm done with that. I have one more little bit of stamping to do. We're almost done. But see how that just softens it up and takes that white space away? Hopefully I can get that. Hopefully you can see that on camera. So we'll glue that surprise panel down in 1 minute. We're gonna set that to the side with our sentiment. One last little bit of stamping is we need to create the sentiment for the front of the card. So I have a scrap of white here, and go back to my Pretty Peacock ink, my happy birthday stamp. And there we go. Now, I chose to use our double oval punch. This is one of my favorite punches. I'm gonna close my ink up before I do anything. I'm liable to drop something in it. I love this punch because it's multi-purpose. You can just use the scallop. You can just use the regular oval. You can see it's starting to wear a little bit because I use it so often. You can stamp them both at the same time. So lots of purposes for this. I'm gonna go ahead and, let's see, I better use it over here. This is actually the chunk that I cut off the sample card that I showed you. So it's a great use of a scrap that I already had. So there's my scalloped oval. And then I'm gonna come back and use the solid oval and cut out my happy birthday. So there we go. Oh, excuse me, so sorry. This gets layered together. And then, let's see, before I put dimensionals on that, let's go ahead and glue everything else on. So we'll start with the inside. I feel like my glue is starting to be on right here. We'll see if it can hold out for just another minute. So the sentiment piece goes on the back panel. And then you're going to close the front, and our surprise panel is going to go underneath our little top flap. So what I like to do is kind of lay it down and get it lined up, kind of eyeball it, get a feel for where I'm going to put it. Sometimes I even do a little bit of a test and say, yep, okay. If you put it too close to the bottom, it's going to hang out beneath that flap, and it's just not going to be the kind of visual you're looking for. So just keep that in mind while you're gluing this on here. So let's see. I'm going to kind of line it up. I try to line it up with the edge of my DSP that I've already put in place. It kind of helps me keep that centered. And then there we go. There's my surprise panel. Last but not least, I'm going to grab some dimensionals for the back of my oval. And this I could put anywhere on the card that I felt so inclined to. I usually take a look at the DSP and say, is there any blank spot? One where I think it looks better than another. I think I like it here. I thought about up there. I don't think I want it that high though. So we'll go with here. Put that on. And then for one finishing touch, I'm going to add some of our festive pearls. I have them in this, it's actually a frosted green. I don't know if you can tell with the lighting, But what I love about these is they kind of absorb whatever color you put them with. So even though they're a very light green, they work well with lots of different shades. I would normally not pick them, I think, to go with lemon lime, but they just really kind of morph into a color that works beautifully with this paper. Would you agree? All right, so here we go. I did forget to stamp my envelope again, but I just used my little sprig on my envelope. I won't bore you with that. And there is our Flip Top Fancy Fold. So a lot of fun. I'm not sure I would mass produce a whole lot of cards with this. I did find it very easy to make 2 at a time, but I don't know that I would make 20 of this particular design, but it's totally up to you. Really, you could. It would just be a matter of cutting all those card bases out. But once you get one of them done and you kind of wrap your head around the basics, I found that the rest of these cards went together very, very quickly for me. So I hope if you try that you find the same thing. I do have some more samples to show you. So I used the same pack of paper, but instead of greens, I worked with pinks. So this one is Berry Burst and has some coordinating colors. And I just wanted to show you here side by side just how quickly changing the position of the sentiment on the front can change the look of the card. But other than that, everything else on these is the same. And again, there's our little surprise panel and the inside design. Now, if you're watching, it's October 2023 as I am recording this. We're about a week away from Halloween, so I'm almost all the way through a pack of Halloween paper. I'm a terrible paper hoarder. I'm trying really hard to break that habit. So I made some Halloween cards with this, and these were really simple and a great way to use up some of that paper. So here's my panel. I kept the front sentiment very simple with just Happy Halloween on a strip, some little bejeweled embellishments, my dancing skeletons on the inside. Rather than a full panel, I just went with a die cut, so you could do that for underneath your surprise panel. And then here is the inside. So just a fun kind of cheeky little card. And again, it's very easy to change up the front of the design based on where your paper is cut. And I placed the banner here on the front wherever I felt it worked best with the Designer Series paper. Now, I mentioned earlier those online exclusives. I'm going to show you one online exclusive in a moment that is available in November, and then I'm giving you a sneak peek of a product that won't be available till January. I get my hands on it a little early because I'm a demonstrator, and that's one of the perks of being a demonstrator. So I'm going to tease you a little bit, but I'm thinking ahead for Valentine's Day. We came out with this Be My Valentine suite. It's the cutest thing. These happy little bees are just... they're just fun and sunny and make you happy. So I had to make a card with this. So the bee suite won't be available till January. I used just a simple shape for my sentiment on the front. And here's where you get the online exclusive that is available in November. So starting November 7th, 2023, you can check out our Fluffiest Friends stamp set and the coordinating dies, which I used here. I am just tickled silly. I used the arch shape to create a beehive, and then I used the other dies in the set to create or to cut out the honey hive and the leaves and the branch. So the stamp set that coordinates with this and all these dies pictured here, they're available November 7th. You can check them out on my website if you're so inclined. But I really liked how I did something different and had that little pop of fun there under my surprise panel. And then here's the inside with those happy little bees flying around. So I hope you thought that was cute. Sorry about the little teaser. The bees, you have to wait till January. Mark your calendar if you love it. And then those, the other die cuts. And I happen to have the stamp set a little close at hand here. So here's that Fluffiest Friends set. So this is available November 7th and has those, the dies that coordinate. There's a bunch more as well. And that's going to be fun to do some stamping with. All right. So I hope you enjoyed learning how to make that Flip Top Fancy Fold. As always, if you haven't already subscribed to this YouTube channel, I would absolutely love for you to subscribe. You can click the notification bell and you'll get a little ding every time I post a video here on the page. And if you're a fan of Facebook or you don't mind it, I'd love to have you join me over at the Faithful Stamper. I share a lot of specials that Stampin' Up! Has, and also share workshops and online events that I do as well. And I'd be happy to have you there as part of the community. Thank you so much for watching. Take care and happy crafting.